The Murdoch family was synonymous with the justice system in the low country of South Carolina. For close to a century, a string of Murdochs sat as the head prosecutor, known as the solicitor. The family was held in high regard and wielded a lot of influence. And that is what makes the story of Alec Murdaugh even more shocking. Alec was a lawyer following in the tradition of his father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. He was wealthy, powerful, and privileged. But now, he sits in jail, charged with the execution-style murder of his wife, Maggie, and his son, Paul. Today, Alec was in court.
What say you, Richard Alec Murdoch? Are you guilty or not guilty of the felonies wherein you stand indicted?
Not guilty.
How shall you be tried?
By God and my country.
And tonight, we are live from the Low Country with all the latest developments in the Murdoch family murders. I'm Vinny Politan. Thanks so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Great to have you with us. And we're going to talk about what's happening down in the Low Country of South Carolina tonight. I want to begin tonight with a very basic foundational element of our system of justice. All criminal defendants are presumed innocent. Okay, they are presumed innocent. You know that, I know that, but let's just remember that as we cover all of these stories, all of these cases. It's the way our system works and has to work. Despite the fact that you've been accused of something horrific, in the eyes of the law, and more importantly, the eyes of a jury who will judge you, you are presumed innocent. Today, inside a courtroom in South Carolina, Alec Murdaugh, the lawyer accused of the horrific double murder of his own wife and son, was in court, and he pleaded not guilty. So that presumption of innocence still is wrapped around Alec Murdaugh, regardless of what investigators have uncovered, and regardless of what you or I think. I mean, the court of public opinion can have an opinion about all of it, but once again, in the eyes of the law, he has pleaded not guilty and is presumed innocent. And he has done what so many criminal defendants do. In fact, most criminal defendants, when they're first brought into court on charges at a bond hearing or at a first appearance or an arraignment, they plead not guilty. When do they plead guilty? When they get some sort of a deal, or if they have reviewed everything and determined I have no defense, I'm going to, ask for mercy on the court, whatever. But this is very usual, right? This is not unusual that Alec Murdaugh was in court today and pleaded not guilty. But I was thinking about Alec Murdaugh, and for some reason I was thinking about his case and how it seems, after what we found out today, that he has some things in common with another criminal defendant, former criminal defendant, convicted felon at this point, O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson, remember, he came into court, pleaded 100% not guilty when he was charged with double murder, like Alec Murdaugh, charged with double murder. Also charged with the murders of their wives or estranged wife in O.J. Simpson's situation. But again, they share that in common. And then today, we found out something else that he has in common with O.J. Simpson. And that is that Alec Murdaugh, like the Juice, wants to find the real killer in the case. O.J. Simpson's still looking for the real killer. And apparently Alec Murdaugh wants to get out so they can find the real killer because, as we heard from him today, he has pleaded not guilty and says he is innocent. Take a listen to what his attorney had to say after court today.
We filed a motion for speedy trial. We note that there are two terms here, one in October and one in November, and we'd like to go ahead and get this matter before the Colvin County jury as quickly as possible. Mr. Murdaugh does this for a number of reasons. One, as you've heard, he believes he's innocent. avers he's innocent, and two, he believes that the killer or killers are still at large, and this would allow Swed, with this behind him, and go after the real killers.
Wants to get out to look for the real killers, just like O.J. Simpson. O.J. has never found them, but we'll see what happens in this case. In the meantime, let's bring in Court TV crime and justice reporter Matt Johnson, joining us live tonight from Walterboro, South Carolina. Matt, great to see you. What were your big takeaways today from the hearing inside that courtroom behind you?
Yeah, this Colleton County Courthouse behind me. Vinny, nice to see you as well. This serves a community of about 5,000 people, and there were hundreds of people here today, mainly journalists outside from coast to coast. We'll talk about that. But there were some major takeaways. This case, it just goes on and on and on. And Alec Murdoch, he was here, finally, first time being in a courtroom since 2021, and the first time since being charged in this double murder that you mentioned. There were some big takeaways, including a gag order. They want anybody that's going to be a potential witness not to be able to speak, or those attorneys, because they say that they're tired of leaks to the media. They want all of the evidence, potential evidence lists, to be sealed in all of this because, again, they don't want that getting out to potential jurors. And they're asking for a speedy trial because you mentioned it right there. He says he's innocent. He wants to make sure that Sled, who spent 13 months, and they say that all the evidence points to one man, he says that he hopes that they can find the real killer.
It's amazing. When I heard that phrase, it was the same thing we heard years ago out in Los Angeles with O.J. Simpson. So today was his official entering of a not guilty plea in court.
He absolutely did. And of course, like most things in this case that goes on and on, it was very dramatic. It was almost cinematic. Take a listen.
Richard Alec Murdoch, if that is your name, please raise your right hand. Do you waive reading of the indictments?
Yes, sir.
What say you, Richard Alec Murdoch? Are you guilty or not guilty of the felonies wherein you stand indicted?
Not guilty.
How shall you be tried?
By God and my country.
Thank you.
So really, we should talk about just how unusual that is, according to the experts, the attorneys here in South Carolina. Well, I spoke with one, Joe McCullough Jr. He was inside listening to this proceeding. You know him. He's been on the program before. He is one of the representatives for the Cook family. Cook was in that fateful boat accident where a young lady lost her life, and that's how people started looking into the Murdochs to begin with. Well, anyway, he was here today, and he wasn't talking about that particular case, but I asked him, was that strange what we just watched? Take a listen.
He was very quiet. I thought it interesting that the defense desired a formal arraignment process. That's really unusual for South Carolina. We don't do that as a matter of course. It's really kind of old school, taking you back a few decades to the absolute, how do you enter a plea, not guilty, how do you wish to be tried by God and country. All of that's kind of out of a Grisham novel more than a South Carolina courtroom playbook.
Grisham novel. There's no other way to put it, Vinny. It looked like a movie set, and it felt like one today.
It's amazing because a lot of people were talking about that. I want to be tried by God and by my country. It's like, well, maybe they always do that in South Carolina, but they don't. He's kind of old school. And, has a lot to do probably with the history that his family has in that part of the country, going back generations. But let's talk about the family, because this whole story is about the Murdoch family and what happened. And ultimately, he's charged with the murder of two family members, his wife, Maggie, his son, Paul. Were there any other family members there today? Any other Murdochs? And if so, who are they supporting?
Right. So it's also the rise and fall of power in this smaller community, this rural area. So family members, were they present? No. Kind of. If you point to the oil painting in the back of the building, of the room where Murdoch is, in his bond hearing because there was an oil painting of his grandfather looking down on him. So there was that. And that's the oil painting that you're looking at right there. So that is his grandfather, Randolph Buster Murdoch Jr. Again, this family has been in power. They've been solicitors, basically the DA in this community, for more than 80 years. As for victims, and we know that the victim in this particular case is the wife and the son, other family members, other Murdochs were not here presently, but there was a victims' rights advocate sitting behind prosecutors, and they told us, they told Court TV that those family members were watching Court TV or watching it remotely.
Has to be so shocking to them, right? Because, you know, you're part of the Murdoch family, and it's like generations of prominence and power and privilege and having a good life. And now everything has just crumbled, and Maggie is dead, and Paul is dead. Alec is locked up. I mean, it's almost unthinkable. But when you think about Grandpa's picture in the courtroom where you have been charged with the murder of it would be his great-grandson and his granddaughter-in-law. I mean, that is amazing to think about that. And I wonder, all these years of power that the Murdochs have had, do you make more friends or enemies? Did you get any sense down there in South Carolina about how that is playing, that particular part of the equation, whether the fact that it's a Murdoch that's going to be helpful or harmful? Because if you're a prosecutor, you could make a lot of enemies. Make a lot of enemies, but you could also make a lot of friends.
Well, maybe that's why he says the real killer's out there, right? But we're seeing a lot of things that are kind of strange. Of course, it's a county that's about 5,000 people, but he arrives in a black SUV. I don't remember the last time I've seen something like that. And then when you talk to people in the community, a lot of people came out here just from the community that wanted to see what they said is justice being served. They didn't want to talk on camera, and that's kind of the feel that you get. Everybody knows everybody else in this small town. And when you're talking about how this impacts him, did you see the shaved head that he had and how skinny he was in court today? I mean, I don't know if we can put it up on the screen, but the side-by-side from the last hearing to this one is just something else. And today he came in with the ankle shackles or ankle cuffs and the handcuffs. And, you know, it was also kind of surprising. He's an attorney and he didn't wear a suit and tie. That kind of surprised me, Vinny. I don't know what the angle there is, but optics are always playing into these sort of things.
And now, he seems tall, and you can only tell by who he's standing next to, but did he appear tall inside the courtroom? How large of a guy is he?
He's taller than us, and we're pretty tall. I was kind of surprised, actually, and I was only like 6 feet away from the defendant, and he's very skinny now, or fit, or working on it. I don't know what he's doing, you know, doing push-ups in jail. But, yeah, that did surprise me. Pretty tall.
And I see there's a mixture. Some folks have masks, some don't. Did he have his face covered for the whole hearing today?
He did, until he did that whole cinematographer statement of, you know, under God and by my peers, and I didn't do it. We got to find the real killer, and then he put the mask back on. Put
it back on. All right, Matt Johnson in the Low Country tonight down in South Carolina. Appreciate it, Matt. Great work. We'll talk again. We've got more on this story. We'll bring in some great guests we have tonight. Steve Helling from People magazine, doing incredible work on this. Jason Ryan, author, journalist, writing a book about the family. So we'll get more of the backstory. We'll take a look at some of the evidence that has been leaked out against Alec Murdaugh. We got that coming up. Plus, next hour, we'll take a look at this. In Broward County, Florida, day 3 of the death penalty phase trial of the Parkland school shooter, prosecutors trying to convince the jury that the shooter is the worst of the worst and should be put on death row and pay the ultimate price for his murder of 17 innocent people. We are live from Fort Lauderdale with the latest from court.
The gunshots continued, and they got louder and louder. We were trying to keep each other quiet, The kids were on top of each other and hugging each other and holding each other.
It's gonna be great.
Alec Murdoch reportedly gave investigators an ironclad alibi, saying that he was here at his parents' home in Barnville, South Carolina, around the time of the murders, less than 13 miles from the crime scene.
Chanley Painter outside one of the scenes. That's very important in the case of Alec Murdoch, accused of the double murder of his wife and his son. He was arraigned today in court. And I want to show you a map to show 3 locations I think that are very, very significant in this case. And we begin at the beach house. This is Edisto Island in South Carolina. And apparently the beach house is where Maggie Murdoch was supposedly staying. Okay, so she's staying at their beach house. 70 miles away is what they are calling the hunting lodge. Okay, and this hunting lodge is the scene of the double murder. And from the hunting lodge, and that's about 70 miles away, you go to 12, 13 miles away from the hunting lodge is what Chanley was just showing us, which was the parents' home for Alec Murdoch. So all these locations very significant. And you know, what is going on in Alec Murdoch's world, his life, his marriage at this moment is significant. If Maggie's at the beach house, well, why aren't they together? What's going on here? Let's find out more. We've got some great guests joining us tonight. In Charleston, South Carolina, an author and journalist who's working on a book about the Murdoch family, Jason Ryan, back with us. In Orlando, Florida, here he is, folks. Haven't seen him in a while. Senior crime writer for People magazine, who recently wrote a cover story on the evidence against Alec Murdoch. Steve Helling is with us. Be sure, folks, check out the latest issue of People. It's hitting the newsstands nationwide on Friday. You'll get all these details. Steve, great to see you. Beard looks great. Let me read a little note from the People magazine report, Steve, because I want to talk about this with both of you. And this is what you guys uncovered. Investigators say that Alec Murdoch, lured Maggie to the scene, saying that he wanted to go with her to visit his ailing father, with whom she was very close. On her way to the house, Maggie allegedly messaged a friend saying that something about her husband's behavior felt fishy. Fishy. The law enforcement source says he's up to something, Maggie allegedly wrote to her friend. Wow. Wow. Well, let's start here. Like, if I have to lure my wife somewhere, and are there problems in this marriage, Steve? What do we know?
Well, we know for sure that there were problems in this marriage. We know that she'd complained to several friends about these issues, and she'd also seen at least one divorce attorney up in Charleston. We know who that is. We know that that happened about 6 weeks before she died. So you don't see a divorce attorney if everything is going well. You don't go live at a beach house 70 miles away if everything is going well. So we know that there were problems, and we know that they hadn't been talking very much.
So, Jason, how many homes does Murdoch have? So the beach, you got the beach home, this lodge. Is the lodge the main house where they would be living if they were like happily married?
It is difficult to get a count. They do have quite a bit of property and quite a bit of nice property in South Carolina, some of it on the coast, as you pointed out. The family itself has lots of investment properties. They have a river house on a nice part of Beaufort County. That's where the accident involving the young woman who died in Mallory Beach in the boat accident a couple years ago in 2019, that party of those friends had left the beach house there. So they also had a home down in Hampton that they sold recently. And so the family had lived there for, I think, much of their boys' upbringing in downtown Hampton, and then started spending more time at the hunting lodge and at the Edisto River house too. And as you pointed out, Alec's parents live just around the corner, and he has 2 brothers who live nearby and a sister who lives in South Carolina as well. So there's certainly a lot of places, if he was having marital difficulties, that he could lay his head.
So when you say brothers and sisters, you're talking about Alec's brothers and sisters, Jason? So they're
He does. He has two brothers who live closer to him in Hampton, and then one sister who lives closer to Charleston.
Are they part of the legal dynasty of the Murdochs down there, or are they in other businesses?
Well, one brother, his older brother, is an attorney with the reorganized firm, the former Murdoch family firm, and is very, successful and well regarded as an attorney. He has appeared on very limited, I think, just one interview since the tragic murders in the Murdoch family, and keeps a much lower profile than his brother John Marvin, who is not an attorney, but is a popular person in Hampton and known to be very friendly and has given a couple interviews more.
Wow. All right. So, Steve, let's talk about this luring of Maggie. At the time, I guess his father is ailing. What's the status of mom and dad? Because that seems to be part of his alibi in all of this. So, dad passed away, didn't he?
Yes, he actually passed away just 3 days after the murders. He wasn't doing well at that time. He was 81 years old and failing health. And one thing that everybody has told me is that Maggie was close to her father-in-law. Maggie was, they loved her like a daughter. So when Alex allegedly reached out to her, he said, you need to come see him. He's not doing well. And that was one of those things one of the very few things that would get her to drive that 70 miles to come to the house to see her ailing father-in-law.
And was he in the hospital? Was he at his own home, or was he at the Murdoch's Lodge home?
Well, he was not at the Murdoch's Lodge. No, he was at his home at the beginning of the evening, or the beginning of the day, and then he was taken to the hospital during that day. And Maggie did say, according to her correspondence with her friend that day, she said that she was like, should I just meet at the hospital? And he's like, no, just meet at the lodge. So, that's why police sources seem to believe that he had ulterior motives to get her to that property.
Yeah, and it seems to me, Jason, one of the key witnesses in all of this will be the person that Maggie was texting with, and that correspondence back and forth. It's like speaking from the grave when you have those types of conversations.
Well, it's eerie to think that she may have guessed at her own death. If Steve's reporting is borne out to be true and accurate, which I'm sure with his reputation, it will be. I was going to say that there's been rumors of a couple people texting that evening. Why was Paul Murdoch there? Perhaps to check on a friend's dog at the kennels. And so I think the cell phone evidence, the texting, the GPS, everything from these electronic devices, Paul Murdoch possibly, it is rumored and reported but not confirmed, he may have caught a portion of his parents' conversation. And some of this evidence with the electronic communications and electronic devices, they may come into conflict with statements made, alibis, things of that nature.
So let's talk about Paul, right? If he's luring Maggie there, do we know where Paul was living at the time? How old is he? And is he old enough to kind of be on his own, bouncing around? And why would he have been there at that time? Steve?
Well,
oh, I'm sorry. Whoever knows. We'll start with Steve, and then Jason, you can pick it up.
Okay. Well, we do know that he was, as was just mentioned, he was dog sitting for a friend, and his friend's dog was there at the property. At this point, we're talking about two grown sons in their early 20s. We're not talking teenagers at this point. So yes, he had his autonomy. He was there at the scene, obviously. And what's unclear and what hasn't been explained to anybody yet was whether whether Alex knew that Paul was there when he asked Maggie to come. We're not exactly sure what was going on there, but we do know he was there at the kennels, and unfortunately that's, where he died. And yeah, you're talking about, vast property. You could be on one part of the property and not know what's happening on another part of the property. I want to get back though to Alex's mother and father, because from his perspective, from what I've heard so far, that's like his alibi.
So his father's dead, so that alibi witness would be dead. What's the status of his mom, Jason? Do we know?
All I've heard is that she suffers from pretty severe dementia, to the point that, I don't think she would be a reliable witness. I certainly have not met her and don't know the exact circumstance of her cognitive abilities, but everything I've been told is she's in poor health and suffers from dementia.
So, Steve, that tells me if we're at trial and you're trying to establish an alibi, you may not have a witness to that alibi, even though there were two people there, according to your statement. He may have to testify about that to establish some sort of an alibi here.
Well, there are ways to tell where he was. Where was his phone? Where was his car? Where was his Apple Watch? Where, those type of things will kind of help either bolster his alibi or it will blow holes in his alibi. We do know that it does appear that he was at the family home, at least during some of the time that he was supposed to be with his father. Obviously the GPS will tell the tale when the time comes.
Yeah, and I have a feeling there's going to be a little battle inside the courtroom on what that evidence actually means, because I've seen that happen before. Unbelievable. All right, Jason Ryan, Steve Helling is going to stay with us because we've got more to talk about here. Once again, big day down in South Carolina. Alec Murdaugh in court for his arraignment, his first appearance, his bond hearing. And he says he is not the killer. He's not guilty. He is innocent. He wants a speedy trial. He wants to be released so he can go find the real killer.